What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. How about that? Mets have been playing terrible baseball. The Dodgers, one of the best teams in baseball, come to town at Citi Field, and what do you know? The Mets are home, and they get shit done. They get the job done. Take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. The offense looked great. Juan Soto had a big game. Pete Alonso finally hit a home run. Brett Baty, it's happening. It's happening. The Brett Baty magic, the Brett Baty breakout is finally happening. So many good things to go over in this episode of the podcast. Shout out to everybody who had a great Memorial Day or is currently celebrating Memorial Day. Enjoy your day off. Hope you have good hot dogs, burgers, good barbecue, a couple beers, whatever it is. Follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd podcast YouTube channel if you want to see the video version. And if you are listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. James, how you doing? How you feeling? You were at the game on Sunday night. Where were the vibes?
The vibes were good, but the vibes were hilariously kind of not dreary, but a little low just because the game started off with such a bang where Shohei Ohtani puts a ball in the Coca-Cola corner. Bottom of the first inning, Pete Alonso responds with a 2-run homer. That was really it. There wasn't many other action the rest of the game. Juan Soto had the RBI ground out 2 innings later, and nothing else really happened. Not that many guys even got to scoring position. It was just kind of a really well-pitched game by Landon Knack, Kodai Senga, and the Mets bullpen. But still, with that being said, fans are pretty pumped leaving there. Ending this series with a series win over the Dodgers is tremendous, especially considering how this team's played of late. And we kind of foreshadowed this in the series preview a few days ago, an episode that did very well. So thank all of you guys for supporting the last episode.
Appreciate that.
Also, shout out all the new listeners that we got because the episode did incredibly. So if you guys are back for another episode of the Mets'd podcast, we're really happy to have you. Appreciate that. But the Mets really benefited from some scheduling luck with the series, being able to avoid Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the exact opposite scheduling luck they had last weekend against the Yankees. So we had pitching advantages in this series, and we took advantage of those advantages. And really, besides for a bunch of absolute bullshit chaos and nonsense, a lot of it our own fault on Friday night, this very easily could have been a series sweep of the Dodgers, and we'd be feeling incredible at this point. But we're very happy with a series win, nevertheless.
Yeah, I think all the negatives that we've been feeling over the past week and a half, 2-ish weeks of how the Mets have been playing between the Yankees and the Red Sox and the weird Pirate series and just the fact that there wasn't a lot of juice around this team right now. You had the crazy Juan Soto storylines and rumors coming out. It was really nice to play the best team in baseball and just take care of business. They had a chance, like you said, to sweep this series. Game 1 was so weird, so bizarre. The start, then the rain delay, then the relievers come in, and then the extra innings. Like everything in this game was pure and utter chaos.
I think pound for pound, that game 1 on Friday was one of the strangest baseball games I've ever been a party to in my entire life. First off, because I was covering the game for NBC Sports Row the World, so I was writing on the game. At the same time, the Knicks game was happening. Then the rain delay happens. Then the Knicks break my heart. And then the game comes back. The Mets come back when I was feeling like shit. Then the Mets re-break my heart again. And I was working my shift till 1:30 in the morning because the game would never end. It was insane. I can't even imagine. I don't even know if we've ever had, since we've done the Ghost Runner rule in Major League Baseball, that we've gone 3 consecutive extra innings without a run being scored.
They mentioned on the broadcast, I think the Dodgers and Padres played a game either last year or 2 years ago with this runner rule where up until the 15th, they both didn't score any runs, which is just insane. How do you not get a guy in from second base that many times in a row? What are you, the Mets? What are you, runners in scoring position? Can't do it?
No, that's inconceivable, especially, again, for lineups. I know people are going to drag this comment, but for lineups that are objectively as good as the Mets and Dodgers, going around a full revolution, each time the middle of the order had a chance, for each team, the middle of the order had a chance to win the game with a single run, and neither one could. Reed Garrett went major big balls to get out Ohtani, and I think Freeman walked, but then got Betts. There were a lot of really cool and heroic performances wasted in that game 1 because there were just so many opportunities to win the game the Mets were incapable of taking advantage of.
Yeah, Brett Baty hit that huge home run to kind of get us right back in the game when it was 5-0 or 5-1 at the time, made it a 5-3 ball game. It is so incredible to see how well Brett Baty is playing. We have been Brett Baty truthers on this podcast since the day we started, and we said there's too much talent. He is too good of a player to be as bad as we've seen. And I think now we're starting to see I know he didn't play third base on Sunday night, which is funny for what I'm going to say, but he's the everyday third baseman.
The funniest thing about what you just said is that he was so good at playing second base on Sunday night. He had a couple really nice double play turns with Francisco Lindor, and something that's kind of niche to the second base position. That's definitely one of the more minute details. When you're turning a double play like that, kind of throwing that flip to the shortstops, they can get their momentum coming towards the base, kind of throwing it out in front. So Francisco Lindor can come across the base, avoid the runner in one motion with his momentum, go the first. And Brett Baty executed that multiple times really, really well. his growth on both sides of the ball is such an incredible storyline of the season so far. And I do remember in the offseason, we were having the conversation about Baty, our positivity about it. This was even before the Mets signed Pete Alonso, and it was kind of our comfort saying that we'd be okay if Brett Baty was a regular player in the team this season, because if he could just give you league average performance with the bat, his glove is going to be so good that he'll be a plus player. And now he's even better than league average with the bat. The guy's like 780 OPS right now after the home runs this weekend. So it's incredible to see everything he's done. It's just, you mentioned it last episode, and it was some of the best analysis I think you've ever done on this podcast, where the way that he's letting the ball travel and hitting it deeper in the box, kind of giving himself that extra split second to recognize what pitch is coming, has changed everything.
Yeah, when he went back to, I'm just going to call it the AAA approach, because that's what he did so well in AAA, and it's something that we talked about on this podcast as a positive, but also thought that maybe it was going to be unsustainable for him to be doing that approach at the major league level, just because it's hard to go opposite field as much as Brett Baty was in the minors. But him letting the ball get deeper, him taking the ball to opposite field, him being able to see those pitches, adjust to them. The bat speed is one of the best in Major League Baseball. We know that. So he can let the ball get deep because he whips that bat around the zone so fast. And ever since he's made that adjustment, again, I'll bring it up, 2024, he was hitting the ball 3 inches out in front of home plate. This year, he's hitting it 3 inches into home plate. That's a 6-inch difference. That's half a foot. That is probably the biggest difference, along with the fact that he brought his feet in.
And he's a little bit more open now. He's gotten that foot open. Because, again, not every player could take this adjustment that we're giving with Baty. And I do think that in the next week or so, we're probably going to donate, maybe not a full episode, but definitely a big chunk of an episode, to a real deep dive on Eric Chavez and what's happened with the approach around Mets hitters right now. Because there was a great tweet by someone I shout out in this podcast all the time, Mikey MJD Analysis on Twitter, does some work for Villanova Baseball, does some writing for Baseball Prospectus, that the Mets as a team have the deepest intercept point of any team in the league, which means that the Mets, on average, as a team, are making contact with the ball as close to the catcher as any team in baseball by an inch or two. And the Yankees are down there, the Orioles are down there. That doesn't really make sense for players that aren't crazy twitchy. Like, the only guys I could say in the Mets that can actually pull that off are basically Baty, Soto, maybe Pete Alonso, but Alonso's way better getting the ball out in front like we're seeing this year. So it's definitely something happening for the Mets, and it's definitely not the one-size-fits-all, so I don't like taking those full-team stats. But that specifically has unlocked Baty because the bat speed's so good, and he is such a twitchy freak athlete. Did you see the Twitter highlights going around Baty over the weekend? Where people showed his high school basketball, and he was yamming on people like a 16-year-old.
That was the most casual drive and dunk I've seen in a high school basketball game ever. Like, that's like what like D1 players do when they're playing high school. He just pump faked from the wing, took 2 steps and dunked it. I was like, holy shit, I didn't know he had it like that.
I think people forget how much a freak athlete he was. Like, he was set to be the quarterback at Westlake, with Lake Travis in Texas.
Yes.
We broke the story that him and Garrett Wilson were best friends. Like, he was a varsity basketball player. Like, this guy has a fuck ton of tools, much more than the average player. It's why he was a first-round pick, and why him blossoming is such a beautiful thing going on right now.
Yeah, no, he's phenomenal. He had a great series overall. Defensively, offensively was huge. And, of course, in Game 1, mounted that comeback with us. Also, shout out Jeff McNeil. He's been a pariah among Mets fans. He has been,
for some reason,
one of the most hated guys on this roster, and I just think it's a lot of lazy fansmanship, as well as just people online. He was the easy guy to hate because he wasn't hitting 300 anymore. So you're like, if Jeff McNeil's not hitting 300, what does this guy do for us? He is just simply a good baseball player, and this new version of Jeff McNeil is really, really valuable to this Mets team, and someone who the Mets cannot be as successful as they want to be this season without Jeff McNeil doing what he's doing right now. That triple in the 9th was unbelievable off Tanner Scott.
And what he's doing is even funnier because it's the opposite of who Jeff McNeil used to be. Where this Jeff McNeil is kind of selling out for power. Like, he's one of the few guys in his team pulling the ball consistently, and it's helped him be a more productive player.
And we've spoke to him in the past, friend of the podcast, when we spoke to him when we worked with the team. One of the things he talked to us about is, like, he likes pulling the baseball. We saw, remember in the COVID year, when he was like, I'm going to try to hit for more power. He put on a bunch of weight, put on some muscle. Jeff McNeil, what is it? It's born to be a contact hitter. What's that meme? You know, it's like born to do this.
Yeah. Born to be a contact hitter, cursed to be this.
Yeah, so he's born to be a power hitter, cursed to be a contact hitter. Like, that was kind of where Jeff McNeil feels like he's been stuck the last few years. And now that we're seeing Jeff McNeil back to his aggressive self, because he is being aggressive again, which I like to see. He's swinging the bat, not just trying to flick it to left field. He can actually do damage again. And I think, weirdly, when he was hitting 300, when he was hitting 310, that's actually what he was trying to do more of, rather than just serving in singles in front of the outfielders like Luis Arraez.
No, and for him to First of all, the way he pulled that ball was a 95-mile-an-hour fastball up and in on his hands. He gets a very talented left-handed pitcher in Tanner Scott. Like, that shows that what the peak athleticism for Jeff McNeil isn't gone yet. I know there are moments where he definitely doesn't look like the player he was because he's in his mid-30s. That's to be understood. But to get around on that pitch in that spot, give this team some much-needed life, and then for Tyrone Taylor to drive him home afterwards, that was like, fuck yeah. And that's why losing that game in extra innings hurt so bad. But it is funny with someone like Tanner Scott. I remember when a lot was made that he signed with the Dodgers. And I was like, I don't give a shit Tanner Scott signed with the Dodgers.
Who cares?
Mets own this ass. For Tanner Scott's career against the Mets, 22 innings. Guess his ERA.
I mean, it's going to start with a 10.
It's a 6.95.
That's still unbelievably high.
And this is I know his whole career he hasn't exactly been one of the best left-handed pitchers in baseball. But since Tanner Scott became Tanner Scott, there even happened a few times the Mets have gotten him in the last calendar year. So it's very cool that we have this little tiny thing. Even before we put the bow in game one, I guess talk about some of the nonsense extra innings.
Sure.
What an incredible game for obscure rules. I have never seen this many obscure rules invoked ever watching a baseball game in my life.
Now I'm gonna have a hot take. Do you think Max Muncy was purposely obstructing?
I don't think so, but
it felt crazy.
I think if anyone was going to be obstructing, I think it would be someone like Muncy. He has that reputation as being known as a bit of a relative bush leaguer. Not accusing him, but I think that's something that he's been accused of in the past.
Classic, wish he was on my team guy, hate playing against him guy.
Yes, I mean what put Muncy on the map years and years ago was the moment with Madison Bumgarner. But it was funny because first of all, that obstruction. I've watched me and you've watched thousands of baseball games. I've never even
tens
seen
of thousands.
And it was very funny that later in this game, there's something very similar happened when the Mets were on defense and the Dodgers are on the top step screaming at third base umpire. The third base coach had to basically tell them all, please guys, shut up, because they were like, where's the obstruction? Where's the obstruction? And then even crazier rule just after that, right before the rain delay happened, which really screwed Griffin Canning, a play where Tyrone Taylor and Juan Soto nearly collide in right center field. The ball pops up in the air off of Taylor's glove, and he catches it with his bare hand, where Michael Conforto's already halfway between the baseline. They appeal to second base. For some reason, Conforto's not out. And it was a strange rule that was invoked that Wayne Randazzo explained beautifully. I forgot the player in the 1800s who the rule was made for, but on the tag-up rule, on and out, you can run when the ball touches a glove, not when the ball is caught. Because there used to be an outfielder in the 1800s. He had some Irish name. I can't remember what it is now. I just tried to find it on Twitter while we were talking. I couldn't do it. He used to juggle the ball on purpose to intentionally catch runners trying to tag up on base, which is such a cool move in the 1800s playing baseball, but hilarious that we kind of did get screwed on that in the moment, because if that inning's over there, Griffin Canning gets off the mound when it's not second and third with a 2-0 count to Freddie Freeman. Max Kranick doesn't have to come in the middle of a 2-0 count on Freddie Freeman and give up a couple runs and some squibbing hits.
Mets have had some unreal luck with these rain delays, specifically
and rules.
Games at home, which is crazy as well. It's like, oh my God, we got to do a better job with these radars.
It's like, who's the meteorologist? I know Mets weather on Twitter's a legend, and he was actually at the game. He was saying, I'm at the game trying to update. Wi-Fi's not that great, but if you're the home team, it's your decision when to start the game. So we talked a lot about going into the series, how important it was for Griffin Canning to give length at the beginning of it because of how good the Dodgers are against relievers. And we lost him in the third inning right off the bat. It's like, that sucks, but still being able to get it to those extra innings and then not be able to do anything with it is what certainly hurt the most.
Podfather and I are from Jersey, so we're used to, I got a guy. But sometimes that just means when I'm looking for a car, I go to Car Gurus.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, the best part about this is communication, which we love here in Jersey where we're from. And this is a place where you can get a car. The price drops all the time, and they let you know. They let you know when your car is ready and when you can get it. The communication part is the best thing for me, Scott.
Agreed. In-depth vehicle reviews. Car Gurus will connect you with trusted dealerships when you're ready, ensuring a transparent and hassle-free buying process with over 4 million listings. They have more car listings than any other major online automotive marketplace in the U.S., so you can find the best deal. Buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.com. cargurus.com.
Are we going to have the conversation about Luis Angel Acuna right now?
I thought we were going to have one about Francisco Alvarez.
I mean, we could have one about him too, but Luis Torrens has to play more.
And he did. I mean, I think the moment kind of happened between Saturday and Sunday where Luis Torrens played back-to-back games. And they asked Carlos Mendoza about his media availability before Sunday Night Baseball. And he said he's playing well enough to warrant more playing time. It's going to be more of an even split, which is kind of what we've been hinting at, somewhat calling for over the last few episodes. I think it's
And not anti-Alvarez. It's pro-Torrens right now.
It's totally more than fair. But I also think the situation with Alvarez comes back to all this Eric Chavez stuff. I really do. I think if anybody has been affected poorly, it's been Alvarez. And I have a great note here from Jeffrey. I can never pronounce his last name. I think Pastor No, though, on the For All You Kids podcast with Jared Seiler, Baseball Perspectives. They gave us a nice shout out last episode. I already had this queued up to give them a shout out for this one because those guys do great work. They're the lead prospect writers for Baseball Perspectives. They're brilliant. They give some unbelievable takes on the podcast. If you guys like more, because they mentioned this specifically, process oriented stuff that we talk about, real nitty gritty baseball stuff, you will like their podcast a lot. If you don't like that stuff, you might not. But this is from Jeffrey's Patreon. He posted it on Blue Sky. Per Savant's new stance and bat tracking metrics, Alvarez has closed his stance by almost a foot and has shifted from a 3-degree pull hitter, slightly above Major League average, to a 9-degree oppo hitter. To achieve that, he's lost 1.5 miles an hour, which of his average swing speed, which 1.5 miles an hour might seem trivial, but in terms of swing speed, that's very, 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 very relevant. If you're losing 3/4 of a mile an hour, that's definitely affecting your power. So to lose 1.5, that's a very significant drop. Then Jeffrey goes on to say, I'm not so sure how to parse over this yet, or when this stuff gets stabilized, or even if meaning this useful focal point for any of this. But trying to slash 97 running in on your thighs the other way is not going to work. To that end, despite a stance and approach that should theoretically trade off power for contact, Alvarez is posting his worst in-zone contact rate of his career by a lot. And then he goes on to say, here we got one more here. This is a team-wide issue, too. The only players getting fastballs out in front of the plate are Pete Alonso and Starling Marte. By the way, Starling Marte is actually swinging the bat well.
Oh, I know. His bat speed's like mega up. It's crazy.
Hilariously. And then he gets picked off on Sunday, but I digress. To end this note from Jeffrey. The only players trying to pull them are Jeff McNeil and Tyrone Taylor. Again, for those four guys to be grouped as the guys with their best approach right now is insane. The Mets hitters are not just going with the flow, and they're trying to make the ball leave the bat in a certain way. It does not appear that way is working right now.
Well, that's something that, I've hinted at before when I've mentioned that too. I'm like, the ball's just getting way too deep. And again, for Brett Baty, it works because he has that elite bat speed. For some guys, like Juan Soto's always been a guy who's let the ball get deep. Again, I'd like to see him be a little more aggressive, but still, he always lets the ball get deep. That's part of the reason why he has one of the best eyes in the league. But this approach that we've seen is 100% got to be coming from Chavez. It has to be something that he preaches about. Let's see the ball. Let's get it deep. And I can rationalize why you would tell a guy like Alvarez that, because he does have good bat speed. He's so quick, and he does at times have difficulty identifying pitches. So you want him to be able to get the best look possible. But the closed stance, the opposite field bullshit that he has, the nonstop wanting him to hit for contact, that is, I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast for 3 years now. That is a recipe for disaster and is not something that's going to make Francisco Alvarez work. Why? Like, Brett Baty went back to the old approach, not the one that he was getting at the major league level. What do you know? He was fantastic since he's done that. Maybe Francisco Alvarez has got to start playing like he thinks it's Brooklyn again and just go out there and just start taking daddy hacks. His daddy hacks right now, he's swinging through water. He's not even close to hitting these pitches. Where in the past, and granted, again, it's the minor leagues, it's different. The pitching's not nearly as good, but he's way too talented to be hitting such like doofy little hits like he does.
The one note I'm waiting for that's really going to finally confirm all of these, like, air quote suspicions about Chavez. And I think some people are piling on him too much. I think when you start blaming a positional coach, that becomes like kind of scapegoating. But also, where there's smoke, there's fire with some of this approach stuff. If we ever get the note, the words, it gets spit through media availability that Pete Alonso like trained with an outside source this offseason, that he went to an academy, he went to a camp, he worked with external coaches. That, for me, mentally will be the nail in the coffin. Because something we talk about a lot in this show, and I think we talk about this privately. Remember, we talk about especially football, where it's not a good approach for one coach to try to be a one-size-fits-all. This is the way we do things. We always talk about how great Jeremy Hefner is. I think the thing that makes Jeremy Hefner so great is how personalized he is with all of these guys. Different things work for different players. Hitters, pitchers, fielders, doesn't really matter. There's no one-size-fits-all, definitely not in a sport like baseball. It's actually quite the opposite. Everyone should be different and play exactly to your own strengths. So if there is a situation happening, and again, I'm not sure there is. I'm not even sure that close to this is true.
Might not be.
But definitely might not be. But if there is a situation where they're trying a one-size-fits-all team-wide approach, and that approach is letting the ball travel, you can't institute stuff like that. And there's been a lot of murmurs in the media the last couple of days about how much bat speed Juan Soto has lost. We saw Eno Saris go in foul territory and talk about that. And Juan Soto has lost average bat speed this year compared to last year. But at the same time, the ball is traveling much deeper on Juan Soto. We did talk about the fact that he might be a little bit trying to find out where his swing and his power stroke is now, because last year Yankee Stadium, he was much more focused on pulling the ball, as every lefty should there, where he used to be much more of a left center field hitter. It's very interesting how all this stuff's happening at the same time and kind of its relationship with one another.
Yeah, something that we will definitely be keeping a close eye on. And anytime we get some more, like you said, if we find out Pete Alonso's got an outside guy, or we find out Francisco Lindor or anybody's got some outside help, we'll be like, oh,
now it's okay. Now
it's on. Now he's not just a scapegoat. Now this is very real. Again, I'll keep bringing up that Disha quote when Lindor called him out for not doing his job last year. I feel like everybody missed the point of that article.
Yeah, and the last thing, I guess somehow we're still talking about game one. I did hate some of the managerial moves in extra innings when we did a pinch runner for Pete Alonso with Jeff McNeil up, and then you don't bunt Jeff McNeil. I know he got the big hit 2 innings before, but in that situation, this is a primarily never bunting podcast. But the one time we approve of bunting is when one run exactly wins you a baseball game. In that situation where you can get a guy in third base with one out, guaranteed, Jeff McNeil, who's a pretty good bunter, can get a bunt down.
Yeah.
When you've just taken one of your best players out of the lineup intentionally to get a faster guy on base, that pissed me off.
That and just the fact that we just pounded the ball into the ground, which again is part of the reason why probably waiting and letting the ball get deep is so tough too, because your bat never gets to actually reach like a vertical approach angle. You're always swinging down the ball because you're hitting it so late, so deep in the zone. Acuna's at bat was abysmal. It was so bad.
I mean, for him to go up 3-0 and then swing at the borderline pitch on 3-1, I was just staring at my ceiling like, how could this? I was Tony Soprano. How could this happen? How could this happen?
I rarely vouch for the 3-1 take, but I was like, you can't swing the bat. This guy really hasn't been close. Besides the 3-0 fastball, he knew there wasn't a chance in hell you were swinging at. 3-1 he had to take there.
He should have taken all 3 pitches if it was me.
Keep the bat on his shoulder.
If it was me giving the calls at third base. But a shame we spent so much time on the one game we lost, because the Mets did play a tremendous series besides this first game. Saturday night was a ton of fun. I think that was one of the more fun, complete, whole Mets games that we've seen. Not even this year. Even going back to all the fun times we had last year's, because David Peterson, a night where you used every single reliever in your bullpen the day before, and you were like, hey, man, we need you to give us 6. He basically gave us 8. Just the maturation, the growing up of David Peterson before our eyes has been so beautiful, so incredible. All he needed was that hip, and now he's kind of cashed in on the first-round pedigree. Every single thing he can do. It's just he's developed so many ways to beat hitters, especially good hitters. He had Shohei Ohtani in knots. And he's seen Shohei Ohtani a few times, going back to last postseason. It was spectacular what he was able to do against this lineup.
Kratz, my pup was picky, not anymore with Spot and Tango Unkibble, and it is about 40% less expensive than frozen food. So we're saving in the wallet and we're making our pups happier.
Let's go apples to apples. I'm not cheap, but I don't want to waste my money on something that's good for my dog. This is perfect.
Yeah, they are very excited. Both Bella, Kratz's pup, and Penelope, my little pup, for Spot and Tango. You can get your pup excited too, and there's no more guessing how much to feed your dog either. Spot and Tango creates a custom plan based on your dog's age, weight, breed, and activity level. It's a nice little survey. So upgrade your pet's bowl with Spot and Tango Unkibble for a limited time. Go to spotandtango.com/foul. Use code FOUL to get 50% off your first order. That's spotandtango.com/foul, code foul for 50% off your first order. Spotandtango.com/foul, code foul.
Yeah, he was so awesome, so in control from the start of the game. He was in control, throwing strikes, doing all the things that when we see that from David Peterson, we're like, oh, there he is. Like, that's where he becomes like one of the more underrated pitchers in baseball, because he doesn't have the big velo, because he doesn't get the crazy strikeouts. That's when you're like, we watch every Mets game. I'm telling you, David Peterson's got some sauce. He's at least got a ton of dog in him, which we saw in this one. When he's off, he's now been very effective still, even when he hasn't been at his sharpest. And I think that's been the biggest step up from Peterson, is that he now has that high ceiling, and I say high ceiling in quotation marks because, of course, it's never going to be like a 20 strikeout guy in a game, but the high ceiling of Derek Skubal. But
yeah, well, no shit.
I can go 8 innings. I can go 7 innings. I can shut down the best offense in Major League Baseball. And the floor now is I'm going to go 5 and I'm going to keep you competitive, which is probably also why the Mets won so many games he pitched last year as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. He did so many ignorant things with his command in the start. I think consistency and command is one. like the fact he was just blazing backdoor two seamers, sinkers over and over again to the righties, over and over again, bang, bang, bang. And he usually, when his slider's on against the righties, he usually focused that thing back foot. He dropped a couple backdoor that were incredible. The curveball's been a huge advancement for him this year. He didn't even really have his changeup in this game. And imagine if I told you 3 years ago, David Peterson wouldn't have his changeup, and he was able to decimate a Dodgers lineup that was mostly right-handed batters. Fastballs were high. Like, it was just the things he was able to do command-wise in this game set him apart from the guy he's kind of always been. And the fact that, again, a night where it was a necessity that he was able to give length. The fact that he was able to do that and literally hand the ball to Edwin Diaz. I can't even say enough about the guy.
7 2/3, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 Ks, ERA down to 2.79 for David Peterson.
And now we're going on a calendar year where David Peterson has an ERA, I think starts with a 2.
It's crazy.
It's amazing. And like, we did talk about the fact that this is what this rotation needed. Someone to step up and just be like a guy. Like, just someone to be able, I'm taking the ball every fifth day. When I do it, you're going to be able to win the game. And Peterson and Kodai have done that swimmingly. And he's never going to have the gaudy, like you said, the gaudy strikeout numbers. He still walks too many guys relatively, but it's just like, when it's an uncomfortable at bat, he's so big, he's so long. Now there's an array of off-speed pitches he can use. The sinker command is very, when it's good, it's really good. And it's like, to have those guys, the only guy that was really getting good hacks on him over and over again was Mookie Betts. And I think perfectly managed by Carlos Mendoza. When Mookie came around for that third at bat, took him right out, got the ovation. It was perfect. And then when Edwin Diaz I think he struck out Betts in that at bat, Peterson ran out of the dugout, top step, and just dapped him up and gave a big hug immediately. It's just that's a lot. We used to give Peterson so much shit for the way his body language was and the sulking.
So sad.
And now the difference in him, the way he looks, acts, it's so night and day. Like, he's becoming, to me, from watching from the outside, we're not in the room, we don't know. It feels like he's becoming a de facto leader of this team as well, for how much he's matured and how long he's been here now.
At least on the pitching staff side. It's always tough to be a leader as a pitcher,
course.
but on the pitching staff side, he is definitely like that guy in the rotation right now. That is the theoretical leader of this rotation. And it was also, again, so nice too, Carlos Mendoza go to Edwin Diaz for the 4-out save, and Diaz was
back-to-back days as well.
Back-to-back days, pitched on Sunday. He was incredible. Or Friday, my bad. He was incredible. He just shut down
BBs.
3 strikeouts, no hits, nobody on base, cash money.
We saw this a little bit with Kodai Senga in Sunday's game, where the Dodgers team, one of the things that makes them so good is they simply do not swing at pitches outside the strike zone. It's a pretty cool skill to have as a baseball player in a baseball team, and no one does it better than them. And Diaz knowing this, and like the slider, none of Diaz's pitches are really whiff pitches. I feel like when Diaz throws a pitch out of the strike zone, it's an accident. But the fact that he had the fastball command and he was just fastball. It's like, this is the confident, the swag Edwin Diaz, to use your parlance, the World Baseball Classic, which we can't really use that term anymore. Yeah. Edwin Diaz, definitely can't say that anymore. But I'm very confident Edwin Diaz on the mound again. I'm proud of us, the Mets'd podcast, for never losing faith in the fact that Edwin Diaz has always been at least a top 5 closer in baseball, if not top 3 at the moment, I'll say.
Switch to the offensive side of things. We mentioned Brett Baty earlier, huge double off Bobby Miller, helped us get a bunch of runs in.
That was
Juan
late.
Soto, that came in late. Juan Soto, he finally came through in a big moment for us. It felt cathartic.
I think you're underselling Baty in this spot, because it's funny the Mets were able to win this series against the Dodgers. The Mets trailed in every single game. The Dodgers scored first in every single game. And the Dodgers were squeaking across some runs early on Peterson. You're like, shit, I don't know what's going to happen here. But then Baty kind of put us back in the game with the big RBS single that drove in Jared Young. Shout out Jared Young. Not a bad series. Put some good swings on the ball. Walks up to Outcast. I kind of love it. But Baty being the guy, again, to pop the lid off with Risp is insane. And then you are right about Soto. That double in the 4th inning, that was such an exhale moment for, I'm sure the rest of the players, I'm sure all the Mets fans. And that's also a ball that should have gone out. But did you see his bat speed on that double?
I saw everything, and it's like, how does that ball not become a home run?
65 mile an hour bat speed, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he still hit it 400 feet, and the wind was blowing in. It was like, oh my God.
2 batted balls by Juan Soto in this game. They were at least 396 feet. None of them left the park.
That's just the difference between playing in Citi Field and everywhere else he's ever played in his career.
Yeah, again, it was still a huge moment. Like, that was the moment that changed the game. We were still tied. I mean, it's the 4th inning. Maybe we're overselling like a 4th inning hit. But
sure.
Like for the way this team was going, 2 outs, bases loaded for Soto, for him to just absolutely piss on that ball and smack it off the fence, it probably meant more than it should have. And then, of course, Baty, the opposite field power late in the game with that RBI double. It's just a fucking great team win. And like, you can feel this team again, maybe it's part of two things. One, I was going to say you can definitely feel this team like turning a corner a little bit, but two, maybe really it's just about being home. Because up to 19-6 after Sunday, the best home record in baseball. Like, it is magnificent what these guys are able to do. And Citi Field, again, looks like a party on Saturday night. Like, it's just the fans get in there on Saturday nights and it's just rocking nonstop beginning to end.
If we can figure out how to get some juice on the road, I mean, this team will never lose.
I mean, maybe we just got to show the fuck up. But again, even in this game, again, people are saying things about Juan Soto. They're saying more things about him on Sunday. Every single game, if you look at the box score, if this game 4 batted balls over 102 miles an hour, it's like he's hit, like, besides the dribblers in between the pitcher and the first baseman,
which I've never seen anybody do as much as him. It's shocking how good he is at that.
But it's still the approach is still good, the power is still good, everything is still totally fine. Like, I can't look at Juan Soto's advanced stats, everything under the hood, and be like, "There's anything wrong with this guy." There just isn't.
No.
I'm never ever going to admit there is. While he still looks this good.
He's unhappy. He wanted to be a Yankee. Come on, don't you know that?
Of course, his soul is a shark. We have body language experts going on here. Sports talk radio people are body language experts. And then this lineup feels so much longer when Brett Baty's hitting ninth and he's playing this big kind of baseball. Like, when him in the 9 hole, when he's just hit the shit out of the ball every single at bat. It's like, this is really, really cool what's happening. Same with Torrens in the middle lineup, because he continues to have good at bats, put good swings on the ball. Somehow one of the highest hard hit rates in the league. Don't even know how that's possible.
Don't know how it's possible.
He's basically running an 750 OPS right now. It's just there's some real juice here, and he's putting the team in a better spot to win than Francisco Alvarez more consistently.
And with premium defense as well. I mean, it's just Mets played really good baseball this weekend. And again, just to quickly go over Game 3 as well, just a little more nitty-gritty stuff here. Huge home run from Pete Alonso in the first inning. He had been going on forever since he had hit a home run. It had almost been, I think it'd been over 2 weeks since he hit a home run.
I think they said the other day it was the longest drought of his career without a home run. It was like 60-something at-bats. But did you watch this game with volume?
Not with volume, no, because, I mean, Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah, this is great. So neither of us can actually remark, because people on Twitter were talking about how bad the broadcast was. They were saying that Citi Field was full of Dodger fans. There were definitely a handful of Dodgers fans there. It 100% was not full of Dodgers fans, guys. That is overblown. There were definitely plenty of LA people. I did love that these LA people came into New York for a Memorial Day series again with the Dodgers against the Mets, and they got dog shit New York weather. 50s and 60s in the city the whole weekend for these little sissies in LA.
To see their team lose, too, even better.
Yes, even way better.
Shit weather, their team loses, Kodai Senga goes out on the mound. He's doing the new Kodai Senga thing, which is
I can't even.
Not really pitched that well, but hey, one earned run and I get a win. How about that? I've got 5 wins on the year and a 1.46 ERA, but none of it's ever looked pretty dominant.
I was going to say, you guys are going to kill me for this. He has the fakest 1.46 ERA on earth right now. There's no reason he should have the 1.46 ERA. I'm not even going to look at the expected stats, because I kind of hate expected ERA and I super hate XFIP. I don't like using those stats, but we still need to see both fewer walks and more strikeouts from Kodai Senga. But I alluded to it earlier talking about Diaz with the Dodgers lineup on Saturday night. He made a great in-game adjustment where the first 3 innings, it was tons of ghost forks, as Diaz always does, and he does all year, as he should do, because the ghost fork, pound for pound, might be one of the 4 or 5 best pitches in all of baseball. But the ghost fork, like we say a lot, is not a pitch that you throw in the zone. It just isn't. Like, the way that pitch moves, you want it to duck and dive, go in the dirt, get a bad swing. But the Dodgers do not chase. So he made an adjustment mid-game against a pretty left-handed heavy Dodgers lineup to start going back to the cutter. The pitch that's kind of returned for him over the last few weeks, the one that really changed his season as a rookie. And that cutter helped him out of these jams. It got a lot of lazy fly balls. It got a lot of ground balls. It got some swings and misses when it needed to. Like that, we talk about this with Kodai all the time, that his understanding of the game that's happening, his ability to adjust, his cerebral nature is phenomenal. And the fact that he's able to make that change, go away from his primary pitch inside of a game and go to something else because that's not working against the best lineup in baseball it's simply magnificent. I love watching this guy pitch, and I love having him on my team.
You know, he's legitimately, and I think people will maybe be a little bit confused by saying this, but he's a pitcher. Like, that guy pitches. He's not out there throwing. He's not out there being like, I've been given a rubber arm that can throw 100 miles an hour. He has good velo. He has good stuff. But Kodai Senga is a pitcher first and foremost. And I'm sure for a guy like Jeremy Hefner, that's got to be even better, because you're like, oh my God, this is so much fun.
The Mets have a staff of, again, pitchers. Like, we talk about Peterson did this. Canning does this all the time, where Canning has such an artful ability at this point to know when to mix that 2-strike fastball into an at-bat when a hitter's not expecting it. And just watching these guys maneuver, adjust, seeing how much time they're all spending together in the dugout in between games. Like, it's just, there's so much pitching going on with the staff right now, where people are kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop with the Mets rotation. And I don't think we'll be the best rotation in baseball all season. There's basically no chance of that. But we're able to squeeze more, one, because of fantastic coaching, and two, just because of how how much these guys understand the game that they're playing and how much they understand their strengths and their weaknesses from game to game, even at bat to at bat, and sometimes like we're saying a pitch to pitch. And that's kind of, as like some true sicko baseball nerds, to watch these guys do this and figure this shit out in real time is beautiful.
Yeah, and the bullpen again held it down for us.
Held
One
it down
hit.
hard, dude. The bullpen was lights out. Kranick to come out for
One
that
base
second
runner.
inning. To come out for that second inning against the middle of this lineup, the teeth, the meat, in a 2-run game, it was freaking awesome. And then I know that Stanek got into no, it was Kranick, second inning. Someone got into trouble, and the middle of the Dodgers lineup came out, but Tyrone was on base. This game didn't even like really hit a crescendo because the Mets lulled the Dodgers to sleep. Like it was so, and the stadium was way down because Knicks were losing by 20 at that point. We got some late innings, so
Let's
luckily
go
we
Knicks.
came back in that one too. Let's fucking go Knicks, baby. But it was just there was so little drama in this game because of how awesome the Mets bullpen was.
Yeah, I mean, Reed Garrett being able to take over like that in the ninth inning as well as the fill-in closer for Edwin Diaz, really nice to see. You always get nervous when guys are filling in for the closer in that situation. Again, against the Los Angeles Dodgers, one of the best teams in baseball.
And very cool that you took care of business with the bottom of the lineups. You didn't let Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman come back. We said that in the preview that the way this Dodgers team beats you is they chip away at you, chip away at you, chip away at you, and then one of those guys always comes through. But the fact that we were able to shut the game down, Michael Conforto, not let them turn the lineup over, not let Tommy Edman get to the plate, especially, it was pristine. Like at a night when Edwin Diaz had just pitched 2 days in a row. 2 days ago, you used every single guy in your bullpen, every single bullet you had. For these guys to just come through and be like, bang, 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 see you later. Best lineup in baseball. We'll talk to you another time.
One more thing I'll mention from this game, Juan Soto stealing his 7th base of the year. I do like to see that that to me tells me he's almost playing a little more loose. He's like, I got to make something happen. Let me steal a base here.
He looked more loose this weekend. I think that he probably
we got a shimmy, right? We got a Soto shimmy.
We got more of a wiggle than a shimmy, but you did see him jawing with the umpire a little bit. He got boned on some bad calls on Saturday night. He let the umpire hear it a couple times. This is going to sound funny. I miss Gary, Keith, and Ron after this weekend. Like I'm sad I didn't get to talk to my uncles, and the fact that they have to go back and work on Monday against the White Sox Memorial Day is even funnier. But it's very frustrating that this was an entire series where I would have loved their commentary. I do think Wayne Randazzo did a very good job on Friday night. I think
and Dontrell too.
Him and D-Train are a good mix. Dontrell gives a lot of credit to the Mets. He seems to always have this reverence for the Mets. I think one reason is because he beat the shit out of the Mets when he was a player. But
I think he also mentioned before that he would have loved to have played for the Mets, but it just never worked out.
Because he talked about how unbelievable the Mets fans are and how going to City Field and back in the day Shea Stadium. And I say it all the time. Like I was at the Dontrell Willis Grand Slam game where it was I think he threw 8 innings of 10 1-run baseball and hit a Grand Slam. Where I was like, how is this happening? And then either that season or the next season, I watched Felix Hernandez do the same thing at Shea Stadium. Which is just the fact that both run Friday nights too. And I was obsessed with those guys as aces back in the day. I was like, these guys are just killing me. But and Wayne, we know Wayne's great. And Wayne does have a lot of great insight with the Mets because of him doing the radio for years. And he was talking a lot about the Mets teams from a couple of years ago because of how well he got to know them. So it is cool for that broadcast to have that kind of insight. And I did appreciate that. But Sunday, I didn't listen to either games on either Saturday or Sunday, but from what I heard, it seemed like it was a real Dodgers glaze fest.
Yeah, I mean, between listening to Joe Davis, who is the Dodgers announcer, and then Sunday Night Baseball, I mean, you could catch me with the sound off and listening to some music on Memorial Day. We got anything else to talk about here before we get into that White Sox series preview, which should be short and quick?
Yeah, two more things I want to mention. 2.5, really. One, huge congratulations to Francisco Lindor. 10 years of service time. A superstar player just continues to ascend. There have been a little bit chinks in the defensive armor this year, though. I'm curious how...
It's been weird.
I mentioned to you that was a problem before the problem heading into the season, that he's basically right now the oldest starting shortstop in baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know someone who's playing shortstop every day that's in their 30s, let alone 31.
Trey Turner?
Is a year younger than Lindor. And just still much more athletic. I think he's only 30. How much has he played?
Yeah, I mean, he's hurt all the time. Yeah, all right. I'm just going to keep throwing out names.
But you are right, but that's the echelon of guys. Lindor's 31. I think Trey Turner also is 31. So that's the same. But it's rare that, they're both 31 years old. It is rare that shortstops play shortstop this late. So I think that's going to be something to watch because as of right now, Francisco Lindor for the first time in his career is below league average. Is below average in terms of OAA. It's a -1 there. And he did make a couple other weird plays, weird throws. He bobbled the ball on Friday night, or was that Saturday, whatever it was. It's just something to keep an eye on. And the next thing, I was talking to a friend in the stands next to me, a nice woman. She had a great idea for City Field promotions. I know a couple folks out there from the Mets still listen to this. Shout out my guy Matthew Searle in the estate operations room. We do all amazing stuff with kids, City Field. Sunday's always Kids Day. Even Sunday Night Baseball is a feature on the kids. We have the home run derby in the wiffle ball field. We have the kids run the bases thing. This woman had a great idea. There should be a couple nights a season, maybe Wednesday or Thursday night games. They're going to be much more adult-forward crowds. There should be adults night. There should be a couple nights during the season where we let people in their 20s and 30s do that base running thing 15 seconds, where we do a football home run derby once or twice a year. Those clips would smack on social media. It would be hilarious to see who actually gets the shot and goes crazy on the board. I think that would be unbelievably incredible content. And again, focus it on like those Wednesdays. We have a couple more Wednesdays and Thursdays while the kids are still in school because school lets out in June in New York. One of these Wednesday or Thursday night games, let the adults do the promotions. I think that would be absolutely fucking incredible.
Oh, I'm totally behind that. Imagine, I'd love to see some adult taking hacks on the little baseball field out there, seeing how many home runs they can hit. Also, if they don't, even better, more viral clip for them sucking.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it'd be funny to see some dude in his 30s wearing jeans off 2 Coors Lights, face plant, doing the base running thing in 15 seconds. I think that would be hilarious. Also, the last thing, it's not quite a media marvel, but it's something I just want to mention because I think it was important. I know to me, I think definitely to you, everyone else our age. Shout out Around the Horn. Last episode aired on Friday. That was a show that I don't want to say like it motivated me to try and talk about sports for a living, but it was definitely one that was like talking about sports is so cool. Like the way that show was made. Tony Reali had a really good outro. You guys check that out. That show was a huge part of my childhood. I did not miss Around the Horn PTI in the Sports Center basically ever from the ages of 8 to 17. Ever. No, it was every single day I was locked in.
Must-watch television for young Mark Luino. When he was coming home from school and didn't have baseball, I was like, oh, what's J.A. Adonde? What's Woody Page? What's Jay Mariotti going to say?
Jay Mariotti, the legend. Like Tim Cowlishaw giving some takes with like Woody Page with the little board. Like every single day after school, again, from like 11 to 15, I played touch football with my friends, same teams every single day. Shout out Connor Dan Danny in the backyard and got home for Around the Horn PTI. It was just, that is seminal. I think it's a very beautiful thing that we got to have that growing up instead of, watching a couple fleas and moths try to do sports talk like this.
Yeah, of course. They actually talked about sports, which was nice. All right, let's go ahead and do that Chicago White Sox series preview. They are horrible. They are terrible, and they're coming to town. How are we going to beat them? Who are we facing on the mound?
I will say they're not playing as bad of baseball as you're used to the White Sox playing. Right now, the White Sox actually, I think, have the same record as the Baltimore Orioles, where if someone told you that, you would have punched them in the face 2 months ago. They also have one 3 out of their last 5 games. That's a huge deal for the White Sox. They just beat the Texas Rangers in the series. But as far as pitching matchups go, Monday, Memorial Day, 4:10 start. Shout out to troops. We have a bit of an ace-off. Clay Holmes against Adrian Hauser, old friend. Again.
Whoa, Adrian Hauser's on the White Sox?
Last week, they signed him in the middle of the afternoon. He pitched that night.
Okay.
And then Tuesday night, Tyler McGill versus Shane Smith, who's actually pretty interesting.
Good
and
pitcher.
Then Wednesday, 7:10, another late night podcast for the boys that night. Griffin Canning versus Sean Burke. I know he's one of your favorites, Mark.
Yeah, like Sean Burke's an extension king, someone who I think's pitching a little bit unlucky right now, but I do like his stuff overall, and he's like 6'6" and has like 99th percentile extension.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like you hear those names and you're like, okay, even if you think they're okay, what about their hitting, James? Tell me all about their hitting because they got basically nothing there.
I mean, what do you want to hear about their hitting? This is a lineup full of superstars and world beaters, like, Miguel Vargas right now. Luis Robert in his 170 batting average. These are guys
Sosa.
who can't be stopped. That's your boy, Lenny Sosa. That's your guy.
I know. Yeah, I did love Lennon Sosa for a minute.
There are a couple mildly interesting players in this lineup. Chase Meidroth, who was part of the Garrett Crochet trade this winter. He is an on-base king. He's hitting over 300 right now. He's stealing tons of bases. He's a pest. He's playing shortstop for them at the moment. He's probably not really a shortstop, probably more of a second, third baseman. But on this team, anyone could play shortstop. So he has a lot of very good at-bats. Our old friend Mike Trout, better known as Mike Talkman, the Sockman's out there too, hitting second every day.
Benintendi's back now too.
Benintendi's healthy. Joshua Palacios, shout out Brooklyn right there. He's going to be there. He's playing. Edgar Caro. What? He's going to have a lot of people there.
There's something hilarious about like, hey, he's playing.
He is playing. Joshua Palacios is playing. I'm sure he's going to have a bunch of people at the games. The Palacios brothers, shout out Brooklyn, both made it to the league. Edgar Caro they acquired him for one of those strange trades the Angels made.
I believe.
Yeah, that was like the flurry at the end of 2022 when they were like, "This is our last chance to win with," or 2023.
2023.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible how far they fall. But that was when the Angels were like, we're 6 games out of the trade deadline. Ohtani's leaving. Let's just say fuck it. Let's trade every prospect for a couple rentals. Then they got the rentals. They lost a bunch of games and cut every single rental. So Randy Moreno wouldn't have to pay them. He just got them off the roster, which was insane. Really fucked up. But Edgar Caro is not playing great right now, but he's a very good contact-oriented catcher. It's just, I'm being nice. Like that's who the guys are in this team. Miguel Vargas seems like he's improving. He's kind of doing similar to the Brett Baty thing, where they're just like, hey man, just be yourself. Just take your walks and let the ball travel. It's a funny team.
I got one shout out. Mike Vassell, former New York Met. We've been talking about him for a while. He's actually having a nice year. I don't know how sticky it is, but he's got a low ERA.
He's pitching relief. He actually got a save last week for the White Sox. The White Sox have actually been winning again, like I said, a few games recently, and they just keep giving saves to different guys. I think their last 4 save opportunities got to 4 different players. And also Shane Smith, who will be starting the second game of the series. He is mildly interesting. He was the White Sox Rule 5 pick this year from the Milwaukee Brewers. He's got a nice changeup and a pretty nice slider. A strange fastball that kind of acts like a two-seamer, like a sinker, but with cut on it. It's a weird pitch. He's got weird stuff. He has a low ERA right now. I don't think he necessarily deserves it, but I don't think he also deserves a high ERA. He's around the strike zone. He misses a lot of bats, and he's really tough to score up. He's a pretty good pitcher.
Sweep. That's it. Sweep.
Just when we got Mets have a good opportunity this week where it was just a very hard part of our schedule. We're about to go on a West Coast trip to play the Dodgers 4 games again. But again, most of the games coming on national television. We're still at SNY broadcast then, but MLB Network stuff. You got 6 games at home with the White Sox and the Rockies. You got to win 5 of those games.
Yes, got to win 5 of those. Would love to win 6. Should win 6 because you are just so much better than both of these teams. But that is all we've got. Do we got Frankie Peppers? Or
Of course we got Frankie Peppers.
All right, give us a little Frankie Peppers to send us out here.
Fresh off his 10 pounds of hummus. I will let you guys know that he hit me up afterwards, gave me the measurements. It was 10 pounds of ingredients that came out of the 10 pounds of hummus. I think it was even a few ounces over that with the lemon juice he added. But without further ado, got Frankie Peppers.
Gentlemen, this is Frankie Peppers. How you doing? That is how you come back and you have a great series against the Dodgers. You take 2 or 3 back winning. Kodai Senga not looking amazing, but gutting through a beautiful outing from David Peterson. Big Pete with the homers. Juan Soto hitting the ball hard. It was a very good, well-played series. I made a promise on Twitter, but I've been asked to hold off. So for those who know, you know. I'm not going to talk about it. But this was a really fun series. And I got really excited last night. I was out on the town, and I received a phone call from Mr. James Shiano.
Whoa.
But he pocket dialed me. But James, Mark, boys, you're free to call me at any time if you want to talk. All right, let's go, Mets. I'll talk to you boys soon.
Did you actually pocket dial him?
I actually did pocket dial him. I told you I was at the Caribbean Social Club. Shout out to Tonitas, and I was just opening Instagram, and the way I opened it click to the call. So I called Frankie, and I was in the middle of texting him back, pocket dial, my bad. And he already called. He was already calling me back, and he was like, "What's up? You good?" I was like, "Oh, it's just incredible." But it was a nice series. Good for Frankie there. And Frankie did have a request. He was ready to unleash the hounds on the Lion, and I was like, "It's okay.
Oh, okay.
I think it's over." I was like, "I think it's over, dude."
Yeah, I mean, we won the battle. We won the fight. We'll win the war. We win it all.
Let sleeping lions lie.
Yeah, exactly. That's this phrase.
Double entendre.
Double entendre. Very nice. All right. That is it for this episode, guys. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Make sure you follow us on all our social media at Mets'd Up on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd Up Podcast YouTube channel to see the video version of this. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on all his socials at
James Shiano, SCHIANO.
And I'm Giraffe Neck Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We will catch you all next time. Let's fucking go Mets.
Let's fucking go Mets. See you guys next time.